Good evening, good people. How you doing? You know what time it is, you know what drink it is. It's a Brews at 10 here on my left eye. I'm your host Lefty. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me this Monday, the 2nd of September 2024. Let's see, we've got a few people in the chat already. Octo, Flowsnake, Brett, Jacqueline, Becca, great to see you all. Brett James, thanks for throwing up the Palestine flag very early on. Yeah, that's going to be on the agenda this evening. Feel free to throw up more Palestine flags. There is a unique static emoji for Palestine for members as well, or as a few people were doing on yesterday's Sunday live stream, throw up a watermelon. Not literally, of course, or if you do literally, then just make sure you stand out of the way, because, you know, gravity. Oh yes, Jacqueline, I will be getting onto that. Absolutely. Lammy's reduction in an end to arms sales. Not a full veto, but that's one of the topics on the agenda tonight. Also discussing the general strike in Israel, as well as Corbyn's new Independent Alliance, and a few other bits and pieces as well. Going to get started very shortly. Please do hit the thumbs up button and share this stream across your social media. Helps us reach more people and broaden more minds, hopefully. Gravity, Clive, excellent. Yeah, gravity. Watch out for the gravity if you're throwing a watermelon in the air. Solidari-Tea, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever you're drinking this evening. I know one or two of you are partial to a drab of Solidari speckled hen. And yeah, Octo, you got there as well. You got there as well with the gravity. So many. But I'm glad that that's becoming one of the monikers of the show. Let's keep this going. I think it was you, Octo, I was talking to in the comments a few days or so ago about there being so many. It could potentially be put into a song or a rap or a poem. We'll see. I'm working on it, you know. I'm still busy bringing you guys streams and videos at the moment before I take a diversion into bringing out a song. But you never know. How's your ciggy outside, Flow Snake? Were any of Starmer's cigarette troopers outside? Did you bump into any of them? Did you have to? Did you have your wallet inspected? Did you have to produce papers? Alright, very quickly, just before I get into clips, articles, and so on, I'm going to set my stall up very briefly. If you've not hit the subscribe button and you're listening live or on a replay, please do hit the subscribe button, and if you're listening live you can join the chat just 60 seconds later. If you're watching on a replay, please do add a comment. I try and respond to as many of those as possible. And as I'm about to put up the list of incredible people who support the channel with a membership, you might also consider doing that as well and join this list of people for just 99p. It's been good to see the community expanding recently. So this is the latest members scroll. Thanks as always to every single one of you. Lots of you have renewed your memberships from last month or several months. Thanks again for that. And a special thanks to those who've gifted memberships recently. I want to shout out to Helena at No Justice while we're at it as well. For recent raids and shout outs, etc. And she's often joined by Kevin Logan. Oh, while we're on the topic of that, apologies anyone who was watching the Sunday live stream last night. I did try to raid in, but I don't think it worked. So apologies for that. I will of course endeavour to do the same this evening. Oh, that's very kind of you, Floor Snake. Looking forward to coming to your private beer garden. And an added bonus knowing that it'll be free of Starmer and his goons as well. It's good to know that they're barred. I can imagine scenes akin to a few years ago when Starmer walked into someone's pub. You remember the guy, the get out my pub guy. That's a good question, Octo. Would smoking be allowed in the secret beer garden? Would it be allowed but optional, not mandatory? You know. Each to their own. That's another topic. I didn't really get onto that during last week though. This, well, proposal I guess. Maybe something will be said about it at PMQs this week. Of course, they're all heading back to Parliament after the long holiday. Clive, welcome to membership on the channel. It's great to have you with us. Thanks a lot for that support and show of solidarity. In fact, I'm raising my cup to you right now. Thanks a lot, Clive. We'll, of course, duly add your name to the list of members for upcoming streams and videos. Thanks again, enjoy the perks. Okay, let's get diving in. Where should we go to first? As always, I've tried to make a few smooth segues. As we glide between various stories and articles, but there is a lot surrounding Palestine today, of course, with the strike, the general strike. The word strike comes up so many times when you speak about Israel. Have you noticed that? But this is a different kind of strike on this occasion. It's a general strike by the unions, but also Lammy's crumbs on the table, as it were. We'll get going with the latest on the general strike, though. Yeah, nice one, Clive. You're suiting that member's badge. Definitely. It's definitely you. It's definitely this season's Vogue. The My Left Eye membership badges. So first of all, let's see how things warmed up last night in the build-up to this general strike. I've got a clip here, and then we'll go into the latest news. There was, of course, this statement by Benjamin Netanyahu this evening as well. And the response to that, shall we say, hasn't been favourable to him. So let's start with, we've got this one. There was actually a demonstration at his house, at Netanyahu's house last night. And we'll start off with that one. It's just a quick one, this.
A red flag at the protest today, a message to the Prime Minister. The last red line has been crossed. Hostages were dying, they said, as a direct result of the Prime Minister's failure to sign a deal. Outside Mr. Netanyahu's office today, they've been shouting.
Sorry, his office, not his house. Or maybe he lives in his office. Too busy poring over maps of Gaza and the West Bank, trying to figure out which bits to steal next. Brett James, welcome to membership as well. Great to have you on board with members. Solidari-Tea. Hope you enjoy the perks as well. Yeah, just a quick correction there. It was actually his office, not his house. And you got the flags up already. Thanks a lot, Brett James. Awesome stuff. Awesome. Thanks for helping to support the channel.
Murderer. Many people here think he simply doesn't want a deal.
And I think that they're right. I think they've finally seen, I mean, how long have we been saying this for? They're actually cottoning on now themselves, the Israeli public. Maybe they've got wind, as I mentioned yesterday on the Sunday live stream, that on October the 8th and October the 9th last year, that is immediately following Hamas's retaliatory attacks on the IDF. Immediately after that, Hamas offered to return all of the hostages. And guess who turned it down? Yes, it was Bibi. And now they're increasingly aware that his actions in ceasefire talks, in the run-up to ceasefire talks, have cost the lives of hostages, as is indiscriminate bombing. The recent example that keeps coming up are 6 hostages' bodies that were recovered, and it's widely believed, or even known at this stage, you know, there's a strong chain of evidence that Netanyahu, adding the 27 unbelievable conditions to the latest ceasefire talks, led to them collapsing yet again, and then 6 hostages were killed. And they directly blame Netanyahu for that. And they're quite right. So as well as protests outside his office, there are also protests on the streets of Israel and Jerusalem. We'll have a quick look at that.
And if a deal is no longer possible, they say, then the hostages are no longer valuable to Hamas.
So as I said, that was just a brief clip. But there were other demonstrations last night, and they have been ongoing today as well. And I'm sure that the Israeli police would respond to them very sensibly and not act in a completely hard right, authoritarian fashion whatsoever. In fact, I think we can go over there and see what went down right now, actually. Oh, shit. Well, not quite as I predicted. So those were the scenes from the streets of Israel last night as well. Vicky, thanks so much for those 5 gifted memberships as well. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Great show of solidarity. Hope you all enjoy your perks as well. Those of you who've joined or rejoined the channel this evening. Thanks so much, Vicky. Great show of support. So yeah, that escalated pretty quickly there, didn't it? Down on the streets, and bearing in mind this is the day before. That was the day before the general strike, which officially started today. Let's just have a look at that clip again, to be honest. There's quite a lot going on. I've no idea what's being shouted there. I think that's whoever's filming this is doing the shouting. I'm not sure. And Brett James as well. Thanks a lot for that gifted membership. Awesome solidarity tonight, people. Well, I'm doing so many salutes with the cup here. I'm going to have to reload soon. But the more tea, the merrier. So I'll just skip back a couple of seconds. Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Brett James. And again, enjoy your perks. So there's tear gas going off here. You can see the police are charging the crowd. It appears that there's hundreds of people there. Wow. That really got out of hand fast. So today, a court has ruled in Israel that the protests are illegal, and not sure if it was the judge himself, but somebody, and I had to double check this, that someone had labelled a general strike as political. Did you know that, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters? A strike organised by unions is political. What a revelation. What a revelation. So that was their attempt to nip this in the bud, to stop the general strike immediately. But of course a strike is political. Politics, a political struggle. That is what it is. It's class. It's a class struggle. It's a political struggle. That is why people strike. By very definition, all strikes are political. The class struggle is a political struggle. Let's just have a look at the latest that's coming in. So, did any of you actually see the speech earlier by Netanyahu? I did. Obviously, it was translated into English as it was coming through. It was like the ramblings of a drugged horse as he pored over a map and made sweeping statements about his intentions, his tactics, etc., with a lot of emphasis on the Philadelphia area of Gaza as well. A very interesting point, though. I'm not sure if there are any pictures of it in this article I'm just about to skim through. The map in question that he kept referring to didn't feature the West Bank, which I think subliminally, or perhaps intentionally, shows you his true intentions for Palestine geographically. I don't know if you noticed that, but if you watched that earlier on, or you've seen clips of it, bear that in mind. So that's just a bit about the suspension of licenses. I'll be going on to that shortly. But this article says it's the biggest outpouring of protest since the escalations on the 7th of October. Israel's most powerful trade union, Histadrut, joined forces with families, I should say, of hostages to send an even louder, more urgent message to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to prioritise a ceasefire in Gaza to bring the remaining hostages home. I believe there are still 111. Some quotes from some of the families of hostages. Our Prime Minister, one says, has to stop everything and bring the hostages back by signing a deal and a ceasefire. So they know how much he's twatted about, how he's dragged his feet. Their eyes are opening to how his political survival, in his eyes, rests on a perpetual war with Hamas. And he's said very many times that he doesn't consider a victory until Hamas are what he says wiped out. Even if he thought there was just one person left in Palestine who was part of Hamas, he would still carry out these atrocities daily, and I've, no doubt about that in my mind that those were his intentions. And of course the hostages were his biggest reason for doing what he's doing. And if you deny him that, then his crimes are going to be even further exposed. They've had enough. So talk about enemies on all sides. So recently things have escalated militarily with Lebanon, with Iran, and in the speech he made today, he went on this diatribe about how this basically is an Israeli war with Iran. He's very clear about that, and made strong accusations against Iran in terms of the methods by which they provide arms, allegedly, to Hamas via tunnels in the Philadelphia region, which was most vocal about, as I said. So, as well as this escalation, and also they've attacked Iraq as well, there's now an internal fight going on, and the pressure's been mounting and mounting and mounting for months now. And this could be the tipping point. The founder of Tel Aviv-based electric vehicle engine startup EVR Motors says he's encouraged his workers to take part in the protests against government. So the BDS is actually now coming from within Israel. Boycott, divest and sanction. He says those who want to participate and protest, I've encouraged them to take the day off. We pay them. We're happy to have them protest. Ofer Duron told BBC World Service. He says, I was out protesting last night till well past midnight with my two sons, blocking one of the major highways in Tel Aviv. We are protesting tonight. We'll continue to protest for a long time, I presume, until it works. He adds that he believes that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wants to extend the war with Hamas, and that the government was spending money on the wrong things. Of course, I'm very happy to see this pressure coming on Netanyahu, and what they're saying is correct. His faffing around has cost lives. It's cost lives on both sides as well, in extending this war the way he wants to perpetuate it as well. What was my point there? Yeah, my point was that unfortunately, you know, the outcry for what is actually happening, the occupation, the collective punishment, is lacking. It is all about the hostages, more than Israelis being ashamed to see what their country is doing and how it's breaking international law. So it will be good to see more of that. There have been a few brave people who've spoken out, but nothing en masse, nothing like this. There have been plenty of people who have lived in Israel, who've lived in Palestine, who've lived in other countries in the region, who've been witness to a lot of the atrocities that have been carried out. So it'd be good to see that on a broader scale. And there is a clip I've got here. This is some of the latest from the protest. This is after Netanyahu had made his TV appearance. I did see the bulk of that, and it was, you know, having to watch him speak for any prolonged amount of time is less than pleasant, shall I say. But the stack of lies upon lies upon lies, and seeing the fanaticism, not only in what he says, but in his face as well, it sickens me to the core. It really does. So this is what went down after he'd been on TV. The people weren't convinced. Netanyahu essentially tried to profess how sorry he was for the 6 hostages, most recently, who've been killed. But it looks like Israelis aren't having any of it. So the protests go on. Yeah, I'm just having a quick skim through the chat. It's good to see the chat nice and busy this evening. RC Pilot, welcome back. How you doing? If you've got any pertinent points or questions, super chats are open, of course. If you're watching back on a replay, please do consider using super thanks. I'm just going to try and pick out a few bits and pieces, see if there's any questions. Yeah, the map. I'll tell you a question about the map that Netanyahu was referring to. It wasn't the old map of Greater Israel. It was just literally all of Palestine was Israel, including the West Bank, including Gaza. It was ridiculous. It was just like Zionists' dream, you know, something that they have on a poster above their beds. Something like that. I'll just have a quick... I thought there'd be at least one. It's been all over my social media and stuff recently. I was gonna download a little segment of his speech, actually, where he was pointing at the map. But no, I'm not going to get carried away with that. If you do, check it out. Make sure you pay close attention to the map. All right, we'll crack on and move on. In just a sec, I'm going to get some bits and pieces just lined up. I think we're going to go on to David Lammy next, whilst we're on the topic. Vicky Clee, thanks a lot for that super chat as well. I hope you're enjoying your new washing machine. Is it good? It's great. It's great. Thanks so much for that, Vicky. Very kind, very kind. And I hope you'll be able to hear the live streams over the spin cycle as well. Hope it's, you know, one of those almost silent ones. I didn't think we'd end up talking about washing machines on tonight's live stream, so thanks for that. Anxiety. Yeah, Clive. Put it on the list. I should start writing these down, to be honest, or typing them up as we go through. Need to compile an official list, or maybe just get in touch with Oxford English Dictionary and Collins, whoever, and see if they'll change it. That's good to know, Vicky. It's a super quiet one. Brilliant. Otherwise I was going to start shouting. Sorry for shouting on the live stream, everybody. Vicky's doing her washing. Not necessary. Okay, just give me a couple of seconds, people, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Talk amongst yourselves for a brief moment or two, and then we'll be moving on. In the meantime, please do check that you've hit the thumbs up button, as well as shared across your social media. I'll be right back, people. Thanks a lot. Okay, I said it'd be just a moment. Just had to nip into the other room for a quick second. Let's have a look at Lammy's speech in the Commons. Now they're all back, and they had enough bad news while they were gone as well. But Lammy somehow seems to think that the statement he's made is massive. It's huge, and you know this will show them. I'm sure you know the finer points about the statement, so let's just remind ourselves in a little excerpt here.
It is with regret that I inform the House today.
Sorry to interject so early on. It is with regret. It is with regret. Immediately, first thing, straight out the bat, apologise to your lobbyist paymasters. Lammy, make sure that you get that in very quickly, very clear. Well, I've got to do something, haven't I? Otherwise, we're going to appear to be as complicit as we are. But he's checked his bank balance and realised he's got an apology to make for what he's about to say. He's not apologising to British or UK citizens, he's apologising to the Zionist lobbyists. That's who he's actually apologising to. Was that a shut up Wesley in the chat there?
But shut up, Wesley.
Well said, well said. Unlike Lammy, who I'm going to let carry on with the absolute pile of crap.
The assessment I have received leaves me unable to conclude anything other than that for certain UK arms exports to Israel, there does exist a clear risk that they might be used to commit or facilitate a serious violation of international humanitarian law.
Well, isn't he really on the pulse of the zeitgeist, this guy? He absolutely knows what's going on. This has been screamed at him, sometimes literally, for months. And now they're in government. We wanted to see proper action when they were in opposition, and now people want to see proper action now Labour are in government. And he's turning around as, this has just been brought to my attention. Similar to the £22 billion black hole that they're acting like was a surprise, but that's another matter entirely. We talked enough about that yesterday. Yes, David. And I can cite at least 2 examples recently where that's been put to you in the House of Commons, that we could be complicit in breaking international law. And it's as though, I don't know, is he... It's like I wouldn't be surprised if you went in his house, he still had an external modem on dial-up. You know, get the net, Lammy. Get with it. So he knows what's going on. He knows what's going on. But he's doing the bare minimum that he thinks is required to play both sides. Let's let him crack on.
I have informed my Right Honourable friend, the Business and Trade Secretary, and he is therefore today announcing the suspension of around 30 from a total of approximately 350 to Israel as required under the Export Controls Act.
About 9% then.
These include equipment that we assess is for use in the current conflict in Gaza, such as important components which go into military aircraft, including fighter aircraft, helicopters and drones, as well as items which facilitate ground targeting.
30 out of about 350. It really is appalling, isn't it? It's very weak. It's not enough. And why so few? I'll go into that shortly. That was brought up with responses from other MPs' questions as well. Davinia, great to see you celebrating 3 months of membership here on the channel. Thanks for sticking with me here on My Left Eye. Great to see you as always. Bird's Nest Rapfest, welcome back also. So where was I with this David Lammy business? Such a pitiful amount. Now, he did go on to say very selectively that the parts that he's cut relate to, I believe he termed it as the field of combat, the area of the field of combat. So the things that they're selling could actually be used to cause physical harm. I think that's the way he's trying to spin it. But if we want real effective decision making, then yeah, it should be a complete ban on weapons sales. There should also be sanctions. We need to disassociate ourselves as a country with these appalling acts that have been going on for decades and have got even worse since the escalation. So it's very weak, it's very tame. And amongst his other excuses, he tried to say that we only, supply a small amount of arms relative to other countries as well, which I'll go on to right about now, actually, because I've got one of the responses queued up already. That's Apsana Begum, who wanted to know why it wasn't a complete ban on arms sales.
The Foreign Secretary announced 30 of approximately 350 export arms licences will now be suspended. That is still less than 10% of the total number of export arms licences to Israel. Given that over 40,000 Palestinians have now been killed, given that Israel is expanding its military operations in the occupied West Bank, and given that the former Foreign Office official resigned, stating, and I quote, that it is actually quite clear that Israel is perpetuating war crimes in plain sight, will the UK government ensure that the UK is not complicit in Israel's war crimes and suspend all arms sales to Israel?
Foreign Secretary.
Well, I've followed the quasi-legal process that we have in this country.
Quasi-legal? What's that supposed to mean? Quasi-legal processes that we have in this country. It's pretty obvious to me that you're just trying to keep yourself out of The Hague. Which is probably where people like you and Netanyahu belong, in all honesty.
We've got one of the most robust regimes in the world. I stand by the decision that I've made that approximately 30 export licenses to Israel should be suspended at this time. And yes, it does represent 10% because it's the 10% that could be used in the theatre of conflict that we're concerned with. But I would also just gently say to the Honourable Lady that there are many things that we might sell that I don't think anyone would suggest a helmet or goggles we shouldn't be selling to one of our closest allies. And so
anything that assists an army committing crimes under international law should be banned. Whether it's a pair of gloves, goggles, helmet, socks, frigging pair of underpants. I don't care what it is. Don't want to see any kind of provisions whatsoever going to the IDF. I hope you all agree with me. Let me know in the chat what you think about all that. And yes, there's going to be a great range of things that we provide Israel with. But as well as things such as clothing and other equipment, we're also selling missiles, shells, bullets, guns, grenades, rockets, mortars. We're assisting them with air attacks, drones, this kind of thing. But I argue that assisting the IDF in any form whatsoever contributes towards their illegal actions. And now, David Lammy might think that he can redefine the law, but he can't. And it clearly states in international law that there aren't these differences that he's trying to cite between what counts as being used in the field of combat or not. And that's probably what he was referring to when he said quasi-legal processes, because he thinks he can try and rewrite the law, international law, as he goes along. And I think that just echoes the pure hubris of anyone who supports Zionism in any way. And a quick reminder to anyone who's not already aware that David Lammy The Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland receives more money from Israel lobbies than any other current member of the government, including Keir Starmer. What a prick.
You make that assessment in a measured way, in a sober way, on behalf of the British people, and I'm satisfied with the assessment that's been made.
He's satisfied with his own assessment that he's made. I'm happy with me, so you should be happy with me. That's his argument. He's also tried to argue that the UK only provides 1% of Israel's arms. Well, let's do the numbers then, shall we, David? Let's just run the numbers. And I'd love to sit down with you and run the numbers by you in front of families of victims in Gaza and in the West Bank. So currently, as I make this broadcast, over 40,000 people have been confirmed dead. I'm going to run with that figure, even though it's probably a lot more, vis-a-vis bodies unrecovered from underneath the rubble at this moment in time. But if we stick with that figure of 40,000, and we're only culpable for 1% of those, then that's 400 deaths and twice as many injured. So we're not going to take any responsibility for that. We're not going to make any apologies for that, are we? And out of those 400 deaths, 1% of the current number, official number, half of those will be women and children. So around 200 women and children. Not going to make any apology for that, David. It beggars belief. It beggars belief that people like this are supposed to represent people like you and I, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. It really does. It really balls my piss sometimes. And people have every right to be outraged. It's rumoured that there could also be a massive clampdown on upcoming protests next weekend. The latest massive demonstration that will be taking place in London. There will be other demos, of course, taking place in other cities across the UK, but specifically it's been reported that the Met Police in London are set to be clamping down. This is what he's got politically from trying to play both sides. Now, when things escalated on October the 7th, he was very clear where his stance was, but the weight of public opinion has since gone against him. So now he's got to appease the lobbyists while trying to appear that he's doing enough to stop these horrific crimes, to give this impression to the British people. But he's failing utterly, because he is doing nothing. He's not doing nearly enough. Ban all arms sales, immediate sanctions, and we need to do the right thing. And we were happy enough as a country to apparently go around and police the world during the early millennium in Iran, in Iraq and Afghanistan. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that in the chat. Sorry to go off on one for a bit there, but this is obviously a topic that I do feel very strongly about. And if you are going to any of the demonstrations or marches this upcoming Saturday, please do let me know your experiences. Just having a quick look in the chat. That's a decent point, Kit. You'd still give medical aid to them, or we are as bad as them. Yeah. That's a fair point. I saw a clip that just reminded me instantly. I've seen a clip going around the last couple of days of ambulances being blocked by tanks, and not just blocked, sort of kettled in from the front and back so that they can't move anywhere. And there'll be people dying in the back of those ambulances, so if we weren't at least to give medical aid to them than we're as bad as them. Even during wartime, you know, medics famously treated people from the side that they were fighting against. So that's a fair point. You know, especially where civilians are concerned. Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts in the chat as well, by the way, everybody. It's great to see you all here this evening. Do have more to get to, and there were more responses from other MPs. And this is where I'm going to try and move into a smooth segue. Where this question is concerned, and he really does put Lammy on the spot here, and he also shows his prowess in terms of what's happening in Palestine. So I'll just play the clip first without further ado. This person needs no introduction, I'm sure.
The Foreign Secretary will be very well aware of the decisions made by the ICJ and the ICC. He'll also be very well aware that the world has condemned Israel for its illegal occupation of the West Bank, the settlement policy, and the killing of 40,000 people in Gaza. The suspension of some arms contracts, could he explain what effect that will actually make on Israel's ability to continue the bombardment of Gaza, or will it continue unabated? And will he also explain what role, legally or otherwise, Britain has played in overflying Gaza with surveillance aircraft and the use of RAF Akrotiri as a staging point for aircraft going to Israel, which many people believe are carrying weapons that are used to bomb Gaza?
Oh, bloody hell. I was really hoping that you wouldn't bring that up, Jeremy. You know, that we're also surveying Israel from the air with British aircraft, and that we're letting Israel use bases to set off from. He was really hoping that that wouldn't come up. It's quite the non-answer that he gives. Spoiler alert.
Foreign Secretary.
I know that the Right Honourable Gentleman is informed on many aspects of these issues. He must know that
He's really got him there, and normally Lammy does normally enunciate quite slowly, especially was today in Parliament as well, and it's supposed to come across as thoughtful and measured, but in this particular case, he really just doesn't have the answer. This isn't like, you know, PMQs where they know which questions are going to come flying at them. And he's really got him on the spot there, because apparently it looks as though the things that Corbyn raised are going to continue to happen.
Right Honourable Gentleman is informed on many aspects of these issues.
He just concedes that Corbyn knows more about this than he does, basically. You got me there. You've got me there, Jeremy.
He must know that our...
I'll tell you what we do know. Lammy, we know that you completely stabbed Corbyn in the back. And after Starmer became leader, you went along with those ridiculous anti-Semitism tropes, even on mainstream media interviews. And you apologised. You even went so far as to apologise for campaigning for Jeremy Corbyn. Isn't this an awkward encounter, David? Quite an awkward encounter indeed, but he's got you. He's got you there.
Our exports to Israel amount to about 1%. And in fact, it is the United States and Germany and others that are much more...
They kill more people than we do with the weapons that they provide. You know, it's only 400 people if you do the maths. It's probably double that, let's be honest. It's only 400 people. Half of them are women and children. You know, what's the beef? The gall. The absolute neck.
Engaged in the selling of arms to Israel. So when he asks me the effect, he can draw his own conclusions.
Well, if you can count, if you can do basic mathematics, then the conclusion is that we're responsible for 1% of the deaths. Ergo, 400 people. David, they're the conclusions that I'm going to draw. But in response to this specifically, I'm sure that the conclusion that will be drawn here is that, no, we'll continue to survey Israel, survey Gaza, I should say, at Israel's behest. And we'll continue to allow Israeli aircraft to use our military bases. He can draw his own conclusions.
In relation to that. I am very comfortable with the support that we give to Israel, and I...
Doesn't that knock you sick? You're very comfortable with the support that we give to Israel. You're very comfortable with what's happening. You know what's happening out there, and you're turning a blind eye to it because you're too busy counting your money, is what's happening.
I won't comment on operational issues.
You won't comment on operational issue. What operation? What operation are we involved in? David, was that a bit of a slip of the tongue? Has he given something away there? Quite interesting. Operational issues. Are we at war? Is that what he's trying to say? So hopefully that brings me smoothly on to this new political alliance. Well, it will. I've just got one more quick article to show you. This will just take a few moments to draw comparison between what we're doing and how other countries respond to Israel's actions. Norway, specifically, it's only a brief article. I'll nip over to the screen. So they say that they're obligated to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, and he expects all state parties in the ICC to do the same. But of course, the last time Lammy went to see Netanyahu, it wasn't to place him under arrest. It was to shake hands, do deals, get instructions. Actually, the last time he went, he was shown the door because Labour changed its stance on their position on the ICC's judgment. So perhaps this lack of action, this recent lack of action by Lammy, is his attempt to suck up to Netanyahu. But they became the first European country to announce that they'd arrest Netanyahu and Defence Minister Yoav Gallant if warrants issued by a panel of judges at the ICC were confirmed, which of course they were. So that just goes to show the difference. Lammy wants to go easy on Netanyahu. Norway, quite rightly, wants to have him arrested. Just a quick look at the
The Foreign
difference.
Secretary will be very well aware of the decisions made by the
Sorry about
ICJ and the ICC.
That's the Corbyn clip running in the background. So yeah, he's formed a new alliance. It's pretty important not to say party. Where's the background music? There it is. So it's the Independence Alliance, which isn't officially a party because that would be an oxymoron. So you can't have a party of independence. The moment it becomes a party, they cease to be independent. But there are 4 others as well as Corbyn. Let's see what's happening there. Coming forward to the screen. Just keep the background music running. So he's formed a group with what the BBC describe as 4 pro-Gaza MPs. You know, the word socialist is a thing. BBC, just in case. Just in case they'd forgotten. Right, let's have a quick look. So there's 5 of them, and they already outnumber the Green Party and match the number of Reform UK MPs. The new Independent Alliance has made a pitch to recruit more members after 7 of Corbyn's allies were suspended from the Parliamentary Labour Party, so they're the joint 5th biggest group in the Commons now if those 7 MPs who were suspended over the vote on the 2-child benefit cap vote were to join this new Independent Alliance. They'd go up a place and become the 4th biggest alliance, but, well, they would be a... it's a paradox, it's a political paradox. They're not a party, they're independents, but they would be a party, so they'd be the 4th biggest party, but they're not a party because they're independents. Has everybody got this? I hope somebody's writing this down. Goodness me. So it just says all 5 of the group beat Labour candidates in July's election with a pro-Palestinian stance in constituencies with large Muslim populations. The Independent Alliance say they'll use their platform to campaign for scrapping the 2-child benefit limit and against arms sales to Israel, of course. So you've got Jeremy Corbyn, obviously, Shocker Adam, who knocked Jonathan Ashworth, off his perch, Ayub Khan, Adnan Hussein and Iqbal Mohammed. Actually, speaking of Shocker Adam and his victory in Leicester South against John Ashworth, he's just never off the TV, John Ashworth. There was another appearance from him on Sky earlier. I saw a clip of it, and he was on there with Richard Tice, of all people. And in the brief clip that I saw, they were talking about this the price hike on these Oasis tickets, and Richard Tice was actually saying that he thought it was a good thing. But what on earth is... I won't get too distracted with all that. If you've got any Oasis tickets, do let me know in the chat. But why is Ashworth still doing the rounds? So let's not get too distracted with that. Established parties of 5 MPs have previously been eligible for as much as £129,000 in what's known as short money, so that's public funds given to opposition parties to support research. However, parliamentary rules currently appear to prevent these funds going to new groups formed between general elections, but by collaborating, the independents can secure more funds for their campaign work by sharing resources and hosting joint fundraisers. So there's been a statement put out. I'll just quickly read that and then we'll take a look at the actual letter sent to the Speaker. So they're pointing out that already this government has scrapped the winter fuel allowance for around 10 million pensioners, voted to keep the two-child benefits cap and ignored calls to end arms sales to Israel. Millions of people are crying out for a real alternative to austerity, inequality and war, but their voices deserve to be heard. As individuals, we were voted by our constituents to represent their concerns in Parliament and on these matters and more. We believe that as a collective group we can carry on doing this with greater effect. The more MPs who are prepared to stand up for these principles, the better. Our door is always open to other MPs who believe in more equal and peaceful world. So yeah, cough cough, 7 suspended MPs. Zara Sultana et al, other independent MPs, Rebecca Long-Bailey. I hope that they'll at least consider it. Dare I say, even Angela Rayner? No, I don't think she would. I think she's far too institutionalised at this point, unfortunately. But if those 7 got on board, and there's rumours that he might be trying to tempt some alliance with the SNP, but I'm not too entirely sure that that's going to go down. They're sort of looking at different political pathways. Let's put it that way. Obviously, the primary concern of the SNP is for Scotland to be independent from the Union of Great Britain. But who knows? Who knows? I'll keep you posted on what happens with this alliance. But it's definite for me. I think it's a positive thing. And there were rumours, or perhaps suggestions, or hopes that Corbyn at some point would form a new political party. There were sort of mutterings a few years ago about his Peace and Justice project potentially becoming a political party, but I was right at my timing, assuming that he wouldn't really be up for that. This sort of alliance of independents does seem to be a good move, though. Long-term viewers, of course, will remember that in the run-up to the election I was strongly backing socialist independence. So that's a bit of a positive, but already the Tories have been putting the roar in, but in quite a pathetic manner. As we just snip back over to the clips, I want to show you this from Kemi Badenoch, and it's quite unbelievable. You're probably aware that at the moment the Tories have a few candidates out for their upcoming leadership election, Kemi Badenoch being among them. And she's come out with not just this as an absolute clanger, there's been a couple of other examples as well. I'll go on to after this clip. But the whole process has been a pretty strange affair as well. I saw Robert Jenrick earlier was doing his bit in a promotional video, and he's really adopted the sort of Americanized way of, you know, the rallies where they have the people stood behind them and holding up placards. But in Jenrick's case, it was just a bunch of blank, emotionless faces, and it was quite surreal. It almost looked like a parody video that he was on a green screen or something. Let's just say it was a very white crowd behind him. So that's what he was going for, and it was just weird. Just really weird as the Tories are anyway. But for him to have adopted that sort of those visuals, those optics in his campaigning. But on to Kemi Badenoch. Let's actually listen to what she said. Apologies. There's a couple of parts of the video where it sort of freezes a little bit, but that's just from the source I got it from. It was shared around social media earlier, so apologies for that. It's not a problem at your end. It's over here. Yeah, let's see what she actually had to say. It's quite unbelievable. God, she's so awful.
Laws brought in to protect everyone were used by left-wingers to protect certain groups over others. We've seen in history what happens when governments do this. That must not happen here. And that is why, when everyone was talking about the 5 new MPs from Reform, I was far, far more worried about the 5 new MPs elected on the back of sectarian Islamist politics, alien ideas that have no place here.
Just gonna wind that back a little bit. Yes, your ears might not be deceiving you. Those words did actually fall out of her gob. Let's hear that again.
Far more worried about the 5 new MPs elected on the back of sectarian Islamist politics, alien ideas that have no place here.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
I hope she is kidding, but I know that she's not. That's the worst thing about it, I guess. Sectarian Islamists. Sectarian Islamists. There were other segments of this appearance where she was baying to the far right. She brought up the Southport riots almost as if they were a good thing. No, literally. And now this absolute crap. And that just goes to stir more hate that we saw in the Farage riots, as they're now known. Alien ideas as well. What's all that about?
Alien ideas that have no place here.
Alien ideas that have no place here. The ongoing attempt to label anybody calling for a ceasefire showing any amount of support for Palestinians, Gazans, or people in the West Bank as well, attempting to paint them as extremists has been ongoing for a while now and been debunked several times. That's appalling. That's appalling. But we know the sort of people who she's trying to reach out to with statements like that as well. This didn't go unnoticed. So this is a press release that came out a short time ago from the Independent Alliance. It says, Kemi Badenoch's outrageous slur is an attack on democracy. As democratically elected MPs, we are proud to speak up on the issues that matter to our constituents, including the 2-child benefits cap, the rights of refugees, the ongoing massacre of Palestinians. By describing these demands as, quote, sectarian Islamist politics, Badenoch maligns thousands of voters and peace campaigners. Her smear should be called out for what it is, Islamophobia. Last month, we witnessed horrific far-right violence across the country fueled by racist rhetoric from mainstream politicians. Kemi Badenoch's reckless comments add fuel to the fire, and she should retract them immediately. We are proud to represent diverse communities, and we were elected to serve our constituents in pursuit of a more hopeful, united and peaceful society. We would urge Kemi Badenoch to do the same. And the 5 undersigned members there, Adnan Hassan, Ayub Khan, Iqbal Mohammed, Jeremy Corbyn and Shoka Adam. Of course, So already, and within a matter of hours, not even hours plural, it could have even been, within the hour of the announcement, Badenoch's come out with this. But that's perhaps not even the stupidest thing that she said recently, although it probably is. Another one that springs to mind is a clip not from that appearance, but a kind of promotional video which was set up by herself, not any kind of Q&A or anything. And she says that she's not afraid of Doctor Who. Did you see that one going around? She's not afraid of Doctor Who. And the only reason I can think that she brought that up was the apparent furore from misogynists and other commentators when the Doctor Who series decided to cast a woman as the Doctor for the first time. And I think she's trying to appeal to those gammons who were outraged by that. Of course, that's the closest thing I can think of. They don't have a great choice either. It's who else is in the running? Priti Patel as well. I think I've managed to get through about 15 seconds of one of her promotional clips before I ran to the bathroom and immediately started vomiting blood, which is quite an interesting correlation there. Just a quick reminder, that's the official letter that was sent to Lindsay Hoyle, the official formation of the Independent Alliance. But no, it's not any kind of extremist group, Kemi. It's just good old-fashioned socialism.
Well, a lot of people are socialists without realising it. Yeah. And so I don't go up to somebody and say, "You're a socialist, come on, tell me, give me the answer." Yeah. Because they probably haven't really thought out what being a socialist seems. At a simplistic level, it is that you, from each according to their means to each according to their needs. Mm-hmm. So you, if you've got a lot of wealth, then you share it with others who haven't got it. What's wrong with that? It seems quite sensible to me. In fact, it's in the Bible. Yeah. It is, it's there. So I think people don't sort of do that. But then you ask them, what do you think about the National Health Service and the principle of healthcare free at the point of need? It was incredibly controversial with the right in the...
Don't worry, Becca. That was just a joke. I'm not literally vomiting blood. That was just my reaction to Priti Patel's self-promotional video in the run-up to the leadership election. No, don't worry. Don't worry. I didn't mean it literally. Just kidding. Don't go phoning an ambulance.
1940s, they said it will take the moral fibre out of society. The Beveridge report, and Beveridge was a liberal, was attacked on the basis it would reduce the moral fibre of the nation because everybody would know that it doesn't matter whether they work hard or not, the state is always going to look after them. That's what security is about, being looked after. So I think many people lack confidence to express their political views because they feel they're in a minority. They feel cowed by this avalanche of media coverage day in, day out, which alleges inefficiency in local government, inefficiency in the National Health Service, and says the private sector solves everything. Well, it doesn't. Markets don't solve everything.
Clip from the London Economic there. Bang on as always, JC. Okay, people, what do you think about that? Let's have a look. Let's take a look at the chat. Yeah, surprisingly few fans of Prissy Patel. Prissy by name, pretty horrific by nature. Quite right, Octo. Now, that's a good point as well, Floor Snake. A good question / point. Is this the greatest almost silent generation dichotomy really a thing in the UK? I only heard about it recently, and mostly from Americans. My parents, their siblings straddle both, and you heard nothing of it. There are arguments for that. Like, you look at polling among young people, for example, here in the UK for the voting intentions, but then when you actually see the stats after the vote, you find that not as many young people would go out and vote as you hope for. That's perhaps one factor. I think people are still outspoken, but in the sense, in recent generations sense, it's been more speaking out online, which of course is a good thing, spreading knowledge, etc. But in terms of actual taking action, it could be argued that there's not as many young people taking action as there could be. Well, that's a really wide, broad argument. I could get carried away with that for quite some time. And it's worth pointing out as well, you know, a lot of the people in protest groups who take direct action at the moment of the younger generation as well. So there's arguments on both sides. We won't have time to go through that this evening on the Brews at 10. Okay, people, I'm going to be signing off shortly. I'm just going to make sure I've got a redirect lined up. It kind of, I think, was planned last night. I'm going to see if anybody's live at the moment. Please do stick around, don't go anywhere. And whilst I do that, I'd like to give another massive shout out to the members on the channel. It's been great to have new members added or rejoining on tonight's live stream as well. A very warm welcome, or a very warm welcome back to membership to all of you too. Your name will be added to this incredible roster of people who show super solidarity here on My Left Eye. Thanks so much again. So have we got anyone live at the moment? There's no one. Not even, apparently not even Navarra have a stream scheduled. Okay, no problemo. Well, you're all very welcome for the stream this evening. It's been great to see. It's been great to see the chat so active. And as always, you've kept it polite and cordial amongst yourselves. That's always great to see as we watch this community grow and grow. Thanks again. I'll be back with more Brews at 10 through the week, of course. I'll try and squeeze one in tomorrow evening if I can, but failing that, I will definitely be here on Wednesday. I think there is a PMQs lined up now that they've returned to Parliament, with more to come later in the week as well after that. Also, keep an eye out on your social media if you follow us there at My Left Eye UK. We're on Twitter and Mastodon, and also I try to post in the community chat for upcoming streams and videos as well, so do keep an eye out for that. leave it at that. Have yourselves a very good evening, people. Take care. My left eye, be seeing you soon.